Alright, hello everybody, Skyrim here, back again with another Diablo Immortal video. Jumping into it now, it is that time again, of course, at the start of the week. It is patch note time. We will be getting a patch update this week. Some of the things sound promising, other ones I'm kind of on the fence and not so much, but nonetheless, here we go. There is quite a great amount of things in between the two patch notes this time, so as per usual, I try to do a side-by-side comparison when it comes to this. Let's go ahead and bring these up. All right, there's the Blizzard global notes, and here is the Chinese China server patch notes. Okay, we'll go over the English global notes first, and then proceed on to whatever got left out. It's a little choppy because obviously it's Google translated on the China note side, but you get the idea for the most part. Alright, so because of the DLC for Diablo 4 with the Spiritborn class being released, we're getting a battle pass that is pretty much comprised around it, which honestly is no real surprise. I kind of am meh about it. I'm not going to play the video because that's a whole YouTube crossover thing and, you know, whatever reasons, but you get the idea. It's going to be, yeah, Serverborn. Or Serverborn, yeah, Serverborn, Spiritborn based cosmetic because of the Diablo 4. I guess you can consider this kind of a crossover in that regard. But all right, so now we have this one. This one here in its wording. Let's go look at this really closely. This is a Seek Out Legendary Gems event. We've had this before. Now I don't like the way they worded it this time around either, though. The Roderick mages have employed clever magic to augment the ability to uncover targeted collection of legendary gems. So basically, we get to pick the ones that were really sought after whenever we run these from the October 16th through November 6th. This runs for. So at least it goes on for a little bit of time instead of like the Mirror Jewel event. Anyway, you can receive priority drop rates in Elder Risk when hunting for coveted 5-star legendary gems. During this event, this is the part where I think they worded it very, very poorly, and it's going to be one of those things we're going to have to wait until it actually is implemented in-game to fully grasp. I might try to find where it says in the Chinese patch notes translation where it breaks it down, hopefully better, and that's pretty sad saying that in general. But anyway, during this event, you can select 8 5-star legendary gems to exclude from your drop pool. Exclude, improving your chances to acquire one of the remaining gems whenever you receive a 5-star legendary gem. So the way they worded it is pretty, I feel like it's ass backwards. They could have done this better. They could have just said, no, pick the ones you want, and that's the ones that will have increased rates. But no, this way it sounds is you have to pick the ones you don't want instead, and that will increase the rates of the ones you did not select. So it's very odd. It's a very odd statement to make and a very odd choice to do it that way. I don't know why they just didn't say, oh hey, we can easily just increase the rates, pick the ones you want, and that's it. Not this backwards confusion of nonsense as per usual. Anyway, so that's the only thing really out of so far that's really worth mentioning here that would be of real substantial value. We got returning events. Fractured Plane again. Good one for... Actually, we might be... There was no mention of essences in these patch notes, so let's get that out of the way. There's no mention of new essences yet. So unfortunately, when the time this comes around again already, October 18th to the 25th, we're still not going to have any essences in the game, so we won't have more opportunities to get more legendaries for our, you know, loyalty bonuses and that kind of thing. So, but nonetheless, Fractured Plane is still good as long as the skills in it are enjoyable and for, you know, your class. Sometimes they give you a skill set of essences that are just absolutely terrible to run around with in there, and the bonus they give you, like, oh, this does more damage if you use, like, freeze. And it's like, well, I don't have any items at all that do that. I'm just saying for other classes maybe, but it's like, for example. And it just makes for a bad time sometimes. Anyway, Conqueror's returning, of course. Hungering Moon. Wild Brawl. The same ones we've always seen time and time again. I do feel that they do need to increase the amount of rewards on these and scale them to how far our Paragon levels are, honestly. That would be a way to scale these events better for whatever, because for the most part, they're still laughable, and whatever we get, it may appeal to obviously the newer players, which is always their target market anymore. It seems is just new. But those of us who've been around for a while would rather see drastic improvements to the items we get from these events. All right, balance change. This is very, very short, extremely short as far as what I saw in the Chinese patch notes, which I will cover here after this. But anyway, the Rolling Surf were the spinning daggers from Tempest. They've reduced the number of them from 7 to 4 due to performance impact it was causing and lag. That is said in so many words in the Chinese patch notes, which I will cover again here. But to compensate, though, you may think, oh, okay, that's another Tempest nerf, so to speak, right? Because they already reduced it from 8 to 7. That wasn't enough. It's literally the animation itself of just being too much on the screen. Big surprise when you have, the constant Zephyr clones doing that all over the place. You're going to have this. That should be of no shock to anybody. But nonetheless, their solution to this is, we're just going to reduce it from 7 to 4. The damage remains the same, however. So they didn't take away any damage. They just reduced the amount of blades on the screen. Fair enough. All right, feature updates. The Vanguard rewards. You now have a chance to earn set gear upon successful Vanguard runs on certain difficulties. Probably 3 and 4. Again, kind of a glossed over thing. It's not really that much to write home about, but it is. They're adding this as just an extra added thing, I suppose. But to do so, you must apply your limited attempt rewards, which can be found on the Vanguard main menu, of course. It's the little checkmark box that'll appear, and that's it for that. I don't know how I really feel about that, because honestly, you get better chances of getting set pieces through running random dungeons way faster than you would putting up with pretty much, I still consider Vanguard content forgettable content. And do the little sit at the desk meme with change my mind on that. Put a pin on that one for me. And anyway, all right, now the in-game market. They've added the ability to adjust the price on something that has expired if it didn't sell. So now, instead of just relisting it at the same price that it wasn't selling at, you don't have to pull it off and put it back on again. You can update the price. This is just a quality of life change that is honestly a good thing. It's something that should have been implemented a long time ago. All right, Rite of Exile. This part here, I don't know what I feel about this one. Because obviously, I've said it before, with Rite of Exile, you have more of a damage crunch in Battlegrounds over the course of time. They made a bunch of changes to. Now, Rite of Exile, on the other hand, pretty much was left almost untouched for the longest time. And that means the whales get the full brunt of their power, more so in Rite of Exile than any other aspect of the Battlegrounds, which is, why they still run the show. But in this case here, it says, in Rite of Exile now, damage dealt by players in Rite of Exile will be reduced by 50%, and previously it was at 40%. So there was indeed somewhat of a stat crunch, but not as high. Now it's been reduced to 50. But again, and developers note, we reduced the damage dealt by players in previous content updates, but continued to observe instances of excessive damage since. Increasing the damage reduction to 50% should address this and provide a more balanced experience for everyone. And I laugh at this because you're doing it across the board. Now, granted, the whales are going to take the more brunt of that because it's percentage based. So, yes, that would impact them a bit more than everyone else. But, you're still doing it across the board and everybody. So, I don't know. It's just prolonging things just that little millisecond more longer than before by doing that additional 10%. So I don't know. It just is kind of their reasoning and rationale behind all this is like, well, you guys say you monitor this stuff, but you don't exactly play the game yourselves as well to experience these things firsthand, which is the problem, and it always has been. All right. Challenge Rift Season 9 will be occurring on October 28th. So, in that time, we should be able to break through into 500 Paragon, I think, before that goes live. So then you can get your last-minute runs with your upgraded combat rating gear and push that much further into this current season of Challenge Rift to try to get a higher ranking on the leaderboard, if you so choose, if that's any interest to you. That would be the way to go about it. You still have probably enough time to do that. For those of us that are close to the 500, we should be able to break through that ceiling and get there before the season restarts, which is not really that big of a deal to me in all honesty, so I don't really care one way or the other, but that is a strategy. And then when the new season of Challenge Rift will go live, they always adjust the combat rating, so then the previous levels that you had a harder time clearing will be much easier, again up to a certain point. And then you'll hit the wall again and rinse repeat. All right, training ground. They're adding a elite target. Elite, yeah. One of the large target dummies in the training ground will now be considered an elite enemy, allowing you to test additional affixes and stats related to this enemy type. Now, when they said elite enemy, I was like, why don't you just say boss? Boss would be much more beneficial for us to test things out on so we can see. But it is what it is. Oh, that brings me to another point that's in the Chinese notes that is not in global. All right. We're about ready to get into it because this is the end of the global notes. I put on my little bits in here and there, so hopefully you've hung along with me this entire time. I do appreciate you. And if that's where you're willing to end it, have a nice day. Catch you next time, I hope. And, yeah, see you again. But for those of you who want to stick in and do the comparison of all the things they left out, this is what we're here for now, right? But one last thing, Fang Splitter, the multi-shot for Demon Hunter. The visual effects of multi-shot provided by the Demon Hunter legendary item, Fang Splitter, has been improved. And that's literally just a visual effect. Nothing more, nothing less. Visual only. Okay, and then bug fixes, of course, with the Blizzard patch notes has always been laughable because there it is, and they say nothing. They say absolutely nothing. All right, so now we move on to the Chinese patch notes. All right, now we have trying to filter through the Google rough googly googly translated. Oh my, of the Mandarin and Chinese notes here. Let's see. All right, these are events, returning events, all that kind of thing. There's the Challenge Rift, which is called Challenge Secret Realm. Challenge Secret Realm is the Challenge Rift there. Anyway, but yeah. Okay, let's get off of that. I'm multitasking here, multi-screen, so bear with me here. All right, exciting news. There is the Legendary Gemstones. We've already discussed this. And then there's the returning events. Forest of the Deers, a returning event. It's just a different name, so on and so forth. Let's get into the... Here we go. Battlefield gameplay damage reduction adjustments and the Holy Relics War Song and Exile War gameplay. So this is Rite of Exile. Here it is in the Google Translated section of the Chinese notes. The damage reduction rate of all professions is increased from 40 to 50%. So that still remains. That's how it was in the global notes. This goes into a little bit more in-depth detail of it, how it was before the change and how it was after right here on the screen. If you want to pause and read that for yourselves, I just want to gloss over it here. There's pretty much, they just go into more detail. That's all they do. They show the actual percentages and break it down a bit more thoroughly. Okay, which I actually honestly do appreciate. When they leave too much of this stuff out sometimes in the global notes, it gets a bit upsetting. Anyway, and then it says, we have received feedback from players that the current character damage is too high, affecting the confrontation experience. We will closely observe the effect of this change and make further adjustments if necessary. But again, like I said, reducing the damage, it doesn't really address the balance class issues across the board. This is just you're doing the same thing across for everybody and saying, oh yeah, that's a way of compensating. No, it's a class balancing issue more so than anything else. Which brings me to, let's see, where's it at? Are we in there? Or did I gloss over it already? There was something about Barbarian that was, we didn't find it yet. We didn't get to it yet. Okay, good. We're not there yet. There's something they definitely left out for Barbarian, which is a key point in this, the patch notes. Oh, there it is. Yeah, the cooldown time. Balance adjustment. The cooldown time of Barbarian legendary equipment Spark Fang or Spark Tusk. And Google Translate is Spark Fang, but you get the idea. It's Spark Tusk. Is adjusted from 12 seconds to 25 seconds. That's huge. That's huge. But the problem with this is, this opens up the can of worms, doesn't it? For it being effectively to be used, you know, in against like Tempests and other classes of the like, and stripping like their buffs. Now the cooldown is much more longer, and you have to be much more specific of the time that you use it as a barbarian. And again, can of worms is opened, and that means, oh, the Tempests and whatever else will run rampant all over again as a result. So I feel like this is still kind of an undersight. But anyway, and the stun effect of it is increased from 2 to 3 seconds. So there is a second longer stun being added, but the cooldown is doubled from what it used to be. So that is definitely a significant nerf to Spark Tusk and its usage. It still needs to be in, though, however, to be used as somewhat balanced for the other classes. But now it's kind of made it, we've kind of gone back in the opposite direction again. So yeah, I don't know. Overall, what's your thoughts on this one? It's kind of it kind of goes both ways. It's good and bad. We're kind of going backwards, I think, honestly, with that adjustment, but whatever. And then what the developers have to say on this. The cooldown of Barbarian legendary items Spark Tusk is now short. Or it was short. This is Google translated, by the way. Frequent use of this skill will have a great impact on the confrontation experience with the Holy Song, which is Battlegrounds. We hope that this spell is more of a strategic skill, and players need to consider the timing of the release. So, yeah, you got to be more really specific when you use it now, rather than release it as much as possible. Yeah, so they want it to have more value to it, which honestly they should have had that at release instead of what they did. And that was obviously a, oops, we screwed up moment, and now they're overcompensating the other direction. Okay. Now, this is left out completely in the global notes, which I don't understand. Why? This is the ice set. The winter set, winter prayer, whatever you want to call it. The 2-piece. Your damage to cold enemies increased by 50%, and your damage to frozen enemies by 30%. For boss targets, when adding cold or freezing, a mark will be added. The control effect will not take effect, and the set effect will take effect. So that means, in theory, you were doing the 15 to 30% damage or whatever, but you weren't actually able to freeze a boss ever. But that's what the whole point of the mark was, which I still feel like we were only probably getting like the 15% increase for like chilling them or whatever. But so before the adjustment that's coming up with this patch note release, the mark added to boss target and only trigger the effect of the set. Other player skills that have special effects on cold and frozen targets will not take effect. However, they've changed it now. After the adjustment, when this goes live, the mark will correctly regard as a cold or frozen effect, and the player's other skills that have special effects on cold and frozen targets will take effect. So that's a win, I think, honestly, for PvE content. I mean, this still applied to players, but, you know, it has its sporadic uses, of course, and you get the idea. But this is, I think, a definite win in the right direction. Finally, something that should have been from the day this was released again, but they tweaked it finally, and here we are. So there's that one. All right. Eye of the Abyss gameplay. Eye of the Abyss. Oh, Vanguard. And this is where they bring it up again. After a successful challenge, the specific drop rates as follows. Difficulty 2, difficulty 3, difficulty 4. Okay, so it starts from 2, not just 3 and 4. 1 out of 4 people will get the set piece, and each player has a 25% chance of getting it. Difficulty 3, 1 out of 4 people will get the set, and each player has a 25% chance. Okay, so same thing. Now, with difficulty 4, however, 2 out of 4 people will get a set piece if you check mark the box, and each player has a 50% chance of getting it. Okay, so there you go. That's the breakdown of these set drops for Vanguard in more detail that got left out again in the global notes. If the number of people who checked the limited reward is less than 4, the number of sets that must be obtained will be adjusted proportionately, but the probability of obtaining it for each adventure remains unchanged. Okay, fair enough. Performance optimization. Here we go. This is the number of water blades from Tempest again. They mentioned it here one more time. They go into the actual stat conversion, what you see, but it says again, it's it does the same amount of damage for less blades. But they do say here, the skill is too large, causing serious lag and afflicting the player's combat experience. They actually say in so many words, this was causing lag, which is exactly what it did and does. So I'm glad to see they put in so many words here that it says it was affecting lag. They didn't say that in the global notes. It's like, we don't want to say lag. Oh no, that's taboo. Anyway, so then we go to optimize the program implementation and visual performance of Demon Hunter. That's the one I just discussed right across the way here, the multi-shot. It's just a visual change, nothing more. All right, other optimizations. After a 4-person team clears the secret ruin, which is a hidden lair, the big chest at the end, you don't have to wait for people to touch anymore. Thank goodness they finally implemented that. They did the same thing in raids a while back. They're finally getting around to hidden lairs, so now you don't have to wait for the chest to open. You don't have to wait for that straggler anymore, or somebody that has to take a work call or something and they're AFK. And it's like, oh, the hidden lair's going to close, man. Hurry up and get here. And then you miss out on it. Thankfully, that is no longer the case. The chest will automatically open, which is glorious. After successfully defeating the demon in a raid, the contribution chest obtained by the player who made outstanding contributions, which would drop the dust for doing, being up there in the top group of people that did the most to the boss in a raid, that will automatically open now, so we don't have to manually open those anymore either. So hooray, these are just quality of life changes again, but still nonetheless, finally. Let's see, optimize the refresh time of blacksmiths, portals, etc. after clearing some dungeons so that players can interact more smoothly. Quality of life changes. A short reminder sound effect has been added each time the automatic battle time runs out, making it easier for players to operate in time. The health lock judgment of demon. Enchantress of Demon Eyes. See, this is all, of course, Google translated, so these are a bit rougher to figure out what they're talking about. Players who meet the standards can kill the boss more quickly. I'm not entirely sure what that one means necessarily verbatim, so if you figure that one out, let me know and put in the comments, and then we can kind of share it there. I don't want to misconstrue anything there with that. Let's see. The mysterious legendary equipment and mysterious set items in your bag. The ones that we have just so many, taking up individual slots, they are now they're going to be stackable. So hooray for that, I suppose. But yeah, that definitely reduces some of the clutter. It was pretty impressive to see some of the lists sometimes, but now we can actually see them in a stackable number, which I honestly do appreciate. Now this one here, Mage magic attribute, the disintegrate ray. The number of rays increased by 1 with the magic affix that you can get from the eternal gear sometimes, is now effective for the legendary equipment Ice Crystal Shadow. So I'm guessing that's the crystalline shadow. So that's kind of huge. So that means, especially on PC, I don't go out of my way to hunt for it, however. So if I get it, I get it. If I don't, I don't. That's how I still feel about those, because you're swapping legendary gear out pretty frequently enough, and it's more than a pain to go and hunt for these to stack the affixes up 4 times. But nonetheless, it sounds like Crystalline Shadow can now be affected by that, and will now be putting out an additional beam spinning around you as you're moving. So that's actually pretty cool. Again, left out in the global notes. Optimize the process of relisting products in the market. Okay, so that was in there. The Demon Hunter players can choose to display. Oh, Demon Hunter players can now choose to display their own costume when using the Hatred skill in the costume panel, which is very interesting. I know your character gets like changes, and when it goes into the Hatred, which is part of the proc, but now I guess you can change it to a specific one, or maybe the one you're currently wearing. That's a very interesting design change, but anyway. And then there's supposedly some iOS fixes here. Series of technical optimizations have been carried out to address the flashback problem in the iOS system. Optimizing the problem of easy crash when opening the interface. Optimize the memory consumption of each field seen in copy. Optimize the memory usage of the script. Fix the memory leak issue in certain situations. I wish they'd do this all on the PC as well, but this all sounds like mobile fixes. Optimize the file system resource usage. So these are pretty significant, and it's glad to see that they finally decided to go dig into the guts a bit more on the game itself for people on mobile, of course, and hopefully address a lot of the ongoing issues that have always been there. So hopefully this will alleviate some serious problems. I don't know, but that remains to be seen. We'll see when the patch goes live, and hopefully that will actually be a lot better for everybody. So you need to update the game to version 3.1.2 or above in the App Store to experience the above optimization. So keep that in mind. On mobile, you're going to have to go to the App Store and do it there. So that's just how it goes sometimes with some of these updates, because this one sounds like a bit more, hardware based to help with. And what the developers say, we have received a lot of feedback from iOS players about the crash and freeze issues during game operations. After verification, we found there are problems such as memory leaks. Yeah, that's huge. The development team attacks great importance to the user's gaming experience and is actively working on solving it. Okay, so it's a work in progress. After this optimization, we will closely observe whether the crash issue has been greatly improved. So yeah, this is a play it by ear. Finally, they get around to acknowledging this. It's been probably far too long that this has gone on for. All right, fix the issue where the rune KOT. I think this one's different. I think it was the one video I did a while back. I think it was a QOL, but for whatever reason, it's the KO, or maybe it is the KOT rune. I don't know. I've been afraid to look at it since because it crashed my computer and I didn't want to touch it anymore by just merely looking at the thing. So it's still not fixed until when this patch goes live, but it should be here. Or wait, it might be. No, they didn't put a date on this. So I'd wait to use it until after the patch goes live to test this out. It restores maximum. What it does on the rune, restore maximum health when evading, did not work properly in some PvP environments. Oh no, that's not the bad one. That was a different one. After the fix, it will work in all environments. So, hey, oh well. Okay, so there's that one. Fix the issue where the vehicle location on the lower level of Tomb, which prevented players from continuing the dungeon. This is when you get onto the elevator, and you'd all load onto the elevator, and then you just go down and down and down and down. It would be the forever drop. It would never end. And the only way to fix that is to quit the dungeon and start over. That one's been around for a very, very long time. It does suck when it still continues to happen every now and again. But hopefully this means they actually finally fixed it. That remains to be seen, of course. Fix the issue where some costumes failed to take effect after hiding the back ornaments. All right. Cosmetic issue. Fix the issue where dodge effect did not jump when playing the game, such as Holy War Assault, which is Battlegrounds. Yeah, there's plenty of that where you would do a dash, or in my case for Wizard, I do a teleport, and I would go nowhere. And I'm like, oh, that's glorious, and it would use the charge, and it wouldn't work. So hopefully that means they fixed that, so that's not an issue anymore. I still would like them to fix the times where we have to mash a skill repetitively in order to it to fire off once. That's still an ongoing issue that needs to be addressed. I don't know if and when they'll ever get around to that. And lastly here, let's see, fix the issue where the Demon Hunter legendary equipment was only effective on arrow towers. Now it is effective on all summons of the Demon Hunter. This one's roughly translated, so demon hunters out there, make what you will out of that, okay? And let's see, fixed on October 8th. Fix the issue where the soul trial mode might not be accessible. Okay, well, there you go. All right, I rambled on far enough in this. Went way longer than I planned on, but I hopefully do appreciate the breakdown, the, side quirks and whatever else I wanted to put in this, as far as what I had to add for my thoughts on every little issue along the way here. Anyway, until next time, everybody, stay safe out there in the real world. On fire, as always, take care of yourselves as best you can. One day at a time. That's all we can do. Until next time, see ya.